Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Horror Mine, where we talk about mysteries, thrillers, and horror movies. My name is Vic Shy, and in this video, I'll be covering the 2009 horror film, The Grudge 3. The Grudge 3 was released straight to video and is the first film not to be directed by the series creator, Takashi Shimizu. This is also the first film not to feature actress Takako Fuji as the iconic Kayako Saeki. This is also the first and only film to tell its story in a linear chronological order. The Grudge 3 was helmed by Toby Wilkins, who directed the horror film Splinter the previous year. The film follows the events of the previous film and explores the infamous curse that is now terrorizing an apartment complex in Chicago. To be completely honest, this is by far the worst film across both the Japanese and American series. But just like I promised, I'll be covering the events that take place throughout the film and explaining the ending. So without further ado, sit back and relax and join me as we explore the sequel that is tough to sit through for all the wrong reasons in The Grudge 3. Our movie begins by telling us for the third time now that when someone dies in the grip of a powerful rage, a curse is born. The curse gathers in that place of death, and those who encounter it will be consumed by its fury. But wait! There's more! Those who survive will carry the curse with them until it is reborn. Jake Kimball has been admitted to a psychiatric hospital following the death of his family in the second film. He tries to tell his doctor, Dr. Sullivan, portrayed by Shawnee Smith, that he is being haunted by Kayako Saeki. While she does seem compassionate, she doesn't believe what Jake is saying, and he is brutally killed by Kayako after she leaves. During the opening credits, we once again witness the brutal murder of Kayako and her son Toshio at the hands of her husband Takeo, which started the Ju-on curse. An international student named Allison Fleming encountered the curse when she entered the Saeki house. Allison then returned to her apartment in Chicago and brought the curse along with her. The curse quickly spread throughout the complex, which now acts as a new hub for the curse. We meet Naoko Kawamata, Kayako's younger sister. Naoko becomes aware that the curse has spread to Chicago and intends to stop it. She opens a box containing ceremonial garb, an instrument, and Kayako's diary. In the previous film, journalist Eason last had possession of the diary after he found it in the upstairs closet of the Saeki house. Prior to him, Karen Davis found the diary in the same location. It's possible that the diary magically returned to the house where it was then found by Naoko. Back in Chicago, we meet one of our main characters named Lisa getting a little steamy with her boyfriend Andy. A little bit of crime scene tape ruins the mood as she discovers they are in the apartment where the Kimballs were murdered. Number 305. Lisa lives with her older brother Max and her little sister Rose, who suffers from asthma. Rose is being babysat by their neighbor Gretchen, who is one of the few remaining tenants of the apartments. Rose begins talking about seeing a boy in the complex, referring to Toshio. She leaves a Mr. Potato Head for Toshio in the hallway that vanishes when Lisa goes to pick it up. That's right, folks, this film's idea of scary is a vanishing Mr. Potato Head.
You uncultured swine!
Max is the apartment manager and is struggling to keep tenants in the apartment after the Kimball incident. A woman named Renee is seen moving out of her apartment with her daughter Brenda, who looks clearly affected by the curse. Max is confronted by the apartment owner Mr. Prasky, who is considering a management team to come in and take over. Being the apartment manager, Max lives in his apartment rent-free. A management team would threaten his livelihood and the ability to take care of his sisters. Renee and Brenda now live in a new apartment, but we see that not even a new lease agreement can free you from the curse. As Brenda prepares to take a bath, she is yanked into the tub by Toshio and drowned in the same way he was. The next day, Naoko arrives as a new tenant with the sole purpose of ending the curse. We get a pretty basic jump scare that, while caught me off guard, made me realize that this movie was trying way too hard. Max opens a box with an oxygen tank and mask for Rose and tells her it's just a precaution. We learn that Lisa will soon be moving to New York for a fashion internship with her boyfriend Andy. Max doesn't want her to leave, but she says this is an opportunity to become stable and pay for Rose's medical bills. Lisa is drawn to a noise from the apartment directly above her, number 305. She heads to the apartment and meets Dr. Sullivan, who tells her that Jake has mysteriously passed away. On her way to mess around with Andy, she comes across the most terrifying thing I've seen in a Grudge film yet. Did I say the most? I actually meant the least. I get what they were trying to do, but you're not scaring anyone with Mr. Potato Head.
Oh, really?
She then comes across Toshio, who is the most off-putting thing about this film, and not in a good way. He just looks way too old here. According to the article Karen Davis read in the first film, Toshio was 7 years old when he died in 2001. The Grudge 3 takes place not too long after the previous film, which was 2006. The actor who plays Toshio was 12 years old in this film, so either they couldn't find anyone else for the role, or Toshio aged as a ghost and is now 12 years old. Whatever the reason is, teenage Toshio just looks odd to me. They made his skin super white as if they thought it would make him look extra ghostly. And what's up with the black cargo shorts? The contrast of black and white is so intense, he looks like an OLED Nintendo Switch model. She goes up the stairs while keeping an eye on him the entire time, and as you guessed it, he mysteriously disappears. That night, Gretchen is killed by Kayako in what is probably the only scary scene in the film. I hate to sound like I'm bashing The Grudge 3, but nothing really happens until the last 15 minutes of the movie. Gretchen goes to wash some of her paintbrushes and returns to find her painting vandalized. That thing is absolute nightmare fuel. I find it funny that Kayako messes up the painting, as her husband Takeo was an artist himself. Kayako begins crawling toward her, but we only see her handprints because of the paint. She then emerges from another painting and kills Gretchen. Lisa meets with Dr. Sullivan at Jake's funeral and asks her about Toshio.
Why was he so afraid of him?
Oh, no reason at all. I'm sure he's a perfectly normal boy who only says his name like he's a Pokemon. While Rose is playing with her dollhouse, Toshio spooks her, which causes her to have an asthma attack. Come on, Toshio, that's not cool, man. She let you borrow Mr. Potato Head. Back in Dr. Sullivan's office, she shows Lisa a picture of the Saeki family.
That's him. That's the boy.
No, that's not him, but at least this confirms that the Toshio in this film is still supposed to be 7 years old. We see that Dr. Sullivan has pieced together the different incidents related to the curse. While she doesn't fully understand what's going on, we can see that she is starting to believe what Jake was trying to warn her about. Now, I may be reaching here, but Dr. Sullivan's full name is never revealed. One fandom article says her first name is Francine, but I have no idea where they got that from. In the video file she plays, we can clearly see her initials as AS, with S being Sullivan. I believe the A stands for Amanda, which would be a callback to the character that Shawnee Smith portrayed in the Saw franchise.
Hello, Amanda.
That night, Rose is visited by Toshio, who creepily starts caressing her face. Dr. Sullivan continues her research into the Saeki house murders and sees Toshio on her monitor through the security feed. She goes out to look for him but encounters Kayako instead. She does her best to get away, but Kayako doesn't need credentials to get around and kills Dr. Sullivan. Naoko joins Lisa and Rose for a walk in the park and reveals why she is here. She tells Lisa about the curse, and this is the first time that Ju-on is mentioned in the American films.
When my sister was killed, a Joan was born.
She reveals that she is Kayako's sister and that their mother was an Itako, a spiritual medium. Their mother would perform rituals to exorcise evil spirits from people and feed the blood of those spirits to Kayako. The rituals were successful in curing the possessed, but changed Kayako forever. This proves that being fed the souls of evil spirits had an impact on Kayako and contributed to her becoming a powerful entity when she died. This is one of the things that I disliked most about the American remakes. I believe that directly linking Kayako's origins to the supernatural defeats the entire purpose of the Ju-on curse. The curse being born solely from Kayako's brutal murder at the hands of her husband is more impactful in my opinion. Back in the apartment complex, Max discovers Gretchen's dead body. Naoko says that the only way to stop the curse is to perform a ceremony in the place that it was reborn. She is referring, of course, to apartment 305, which shows that the Kimball family murders is what truly cursed the apartment complex. While Allison Fleming contributed to the curse being spread through the complex, she was simply a carrier of the curse. When Trish Kimball became cursed, she also became possessed, which caused her to murder Bill and Lacey. Their murders are what caused the curse to be reborn in the apartments. Naoko says she needs Rose and Lisa to participate in the ceremony and stop the curse. However, Lisa refuses to help as she doesn't want Rose to be involved. Lisa returns to the complex just as Gretchen's dead body is being taken away. She realizes that Naoko was right and tries to call her. So, about that ceremony. Because of everything going on, Lisa decides not to move to New York.
I'm not going.
There's no reason for you to stay.
I mean, he's already cursed, so might as well, right? The curse has now fully taken a hold of Max, who appears to be possessed by the spirit of Takeo Saeki. In a scene that exists solely to add to the body count and another jump scare, Andy is killed by Kayako. Mr. Prasky tells Max that he's decided to hire a management team, meaning that Max is going to have to pay rent like everyone else, leading to my favorite scene in the entire movie.
So you don't gotta like the news, kid. Just gotta take it.
As Mr. Prasky goes out to his car, he is killed by Toshio. The kill happens off-screen, but we do see Toshio lunging at him, which is a first as far as I'm aware. Max has fully gone off the deep end and kicks Lisa out of the apartment. She tries to call Dr. Sullivan, but is told she has passed away. She encounters Kayako in the hallway and retreats to Naoko's apartment. Naoko tells her that Max is no longer himself and Rose cannot be alone with him. Lisa heads back down to the apartment, which is now unlocked for some reason. While Max is distracted, Lisa sneaks Rose out of the apartment. Naoko prepares to perform the ritual inside apartment 305. She tells Lisa that no matter what she sees or what she hears, she must not interfere. Those were the famous last words of someone whose ceremony is about to be interfered with. Per horror movie logic, if she didn't want Lisa to interfere in the ceremony, she should not have said so.
I shouldn't have said that. I should not have said that.
She begins to perform a ritual similar to the ones her mother did, which seems to be drawing out Kayako. She then conveniently takes out some of Kayako's blood and says that Rose must drink it to contain the curse. Lisa refuses to let Rose drink the blood and Crazy Max suddenly appears inside the room. He mirrors the exact movements of an enraged Takeo and begins chasing Naoko. For some reason, she tries to reason with Max, whom she knows is fully possessed. She tries defending herself with a metal pipe, but Max easily grabs it out of her hand. He uses the pipe to break her leg, and we see one of the worst edits I've ever seen in a film. I mean, what the actual heck was that? There were literally 9 cuts from when the pipe hits her leg to the moment she hits the ground. It looks like something I would do in one of my videos to avoid a copyright claim. As she attempts to crawl away, Max brutally kills Naoko by stabbing her through the neck with a jab saw. In the apartment, Lisa and Rose are being pursued by Kayako and discover Andy's dead body in the bathroom. As Kayako approaches Lisa, Rose drinks her blood from the bowl. This contains the curse within Rose's body, causing Kayako to disappear, and Max returns to normal. He is now in complete shock at the realization that he just murdered Naoko. Lisa then rushes to their apartment to retrieve the oxygen tank for Rose. Max's brutal murder of Naoko has turned her into an Onryo and given birth to a whole new curse. Naoko's vengeful spirit appears much like a traditional Onryo, who are often depicted as wearing white kimonos. Naoko is eerily limping her way over to Max as her leg was broken before her death. She climbs on top of him and takes a huge chunk out of his neck. Lisa hears her brother screaming and finds his dead body at the end of the hallway. He has a huge hole in his neck as revenge for having stabbed a hole through Naoko's neck. In the film's final scene, Rose and Lisa are inside of an ambulance as police tape off the crime scene. Lisa embraces Rose, who then turns into Kayako as the movie ends, showing that while the original curse is contained within Rose's body, Kayako's powerful spirit remains within her. At this point, the curse has grown so powerful that there is no real way to end it. I view this ending as a metaphor for revenge. Once someone decides to go down the path of revenge, it will consume them and whoever is in their way, creating a never-ending cycle of pain and grief. With this in mind, the only true way to end the curse would be for Kayako's spirit to somehow find peace and move on. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was The Grudge 3. My friends, this was a really tough one for me to sit through. Nothing essentially happens until the last 15 minutes and there were barely any scary moments. It felt like they were trying way too hard to make a Grudge film, but they didn't try hard enough. Kayako and Toshio were ridiculously painted white and looked nothing like they did in previous films. We also got to see what a Grudge film looks like with a single narrative told in chronological order. Honestly, I'm really glad this is the only film in the series that does this. The characters never felt truly fleshed out, and there were a lot of unnecessary scenes that made the movie drag despite the 90-minute runtime. One way to fix both The Grudge 2 and 3 is to cut the Kimball storyline from the second film and paste it into the third. You can then have the film cut back and forth between the two stories in non-chronological order and have it feel more like a traditional Grudge film. This would have allowed for The Grudge 2 to feel less crowded and for The Grudge 3 to feel less boring. But as always, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Thank you all for tuning in, and I cannot wait to see y'all right back here in the horror mine. Y'all stick around.